Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome back to Planquatica, our water park here in Planet Coaster 2. What you're looking at here is some of the progress we made on a live stream. I'm going to be live streaming every Tuesday and Saturday mornings for the foreseeable future. At least I'm going to try to anyway, depending on work and other commitments. But that's the plan. So if you want to see some detailing live and have a chat with me and the rest of the chat about the game, you can join us there at about 10 a.m. Eastern time, whatever that is for you. You have to do the math. I'm no clock. Alright, so that was fun anyway, filling in some of the gaps, and now I'm starting this episode, going back, just making a few changes to what we did in the last one. You remember in the last episode, if you saw it, that I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, and kind of left a couple of these bits and bobs unfinished here. Just wanted to go back and tidy them up a little bit. Who'd have thought it? I'm actually scaling something up here to make it work. It's there's a really sort of over-the-top resort piece, but if you scale it up and hide a lot of it, you just get a nice sort of plain wooden door, and here I add some corrugated kick guards in. That works out quite well. Yeah, I hadn't done the roof of this one, and wasn't too sure what to do with it at all, to be honest, and I'm trying to figure out some kind of answer here. I want to do like a hangar style roof. I had another look around Typhoon Lagoon and actually use this sort of stuff quite a bit, and there's one at Planquatica as well that has this sort of hangar style roof. We don't quite have the nice rounded pieces in any of the wood sets. Even this Viking one isn't quite right, you'll see here. I could do this custom. I do consider it just there for 1 second and then decide against it because, you know, I don't know, I like my sanity. In the end, I realised that actually, why not? Let's just have part of the wall metallic as well. So here we go then. We start off with the wood of the Viking, and then we just have this sort of metallic roof here, and with a bit of trim. I actually think it turns out pretty nice. I think it works out quite well. And then we're able to use these awesome corrugated metal pieces here that are part of the aquatic theme. I love them. In fact, one of the other buildings we do today also uses them. And all you need to do here really is take a little bit of trim just to kind of tie in to the build and make it look as if that's what we always meant to do. Because it was, wasn't it? No mistakes here. We just, happy little accidents, I guess. We just sort of box this building off. For the most part, this is going to get covered up with foliage around it anyway. This is very much the sort of edge of the park here. One thing I'm not really doing with this park, even though it is an attempt at implied realism, what I'm not really doing too much with this park is like real sort of backstagey stuff. There you go. There's a better look of the roof there from the peep view. I think it turned out quite nice. Just a little cap off of the building there that we weren't able to do in the last episode. But yeah, one thing I'm not really aiming to do too much here is the real sort of implied realism of like backstages and what have you. That's going to be something that comes in our main series that we'll be looking at starting soon. Maybe in the new year we might get an episode out in the towards the end of the year. It really depends on when that update's going to drop. We'll talk about that in a moment. Next up then, I wasn't happy with the Ray Pool sign here. The what do we call it? Ray Ruins? It was on screen 30 seconds ago and I've already forgotten what it was. Wasn't happy with it anyway. Wanted to have another stab at it, just to kind of higher the budget up a little bit. This is a high budget park. The rides in these kind of parks, they do have these wacky signs. Maybe they're not quite as ostentatious as these in real life. Ray Bay, there we go. But you know what? If we're not able to do this sort of stuff in this level of park, and I don't know what we're going to be able to do. Meanderville, our main park that we'll be starting, that's a theme park, is going to be a high budget park, but it's going to be a little bit more understated in with this kind of thing, how we use signage and what have you. If you think about how some of the newer areas of both Disney and Universal are, their signage is a lot more sort of tied into the space, and in some ways like a lot more subdued. If you go into Pandora, for instance, there isn't a huge sign up somewhere saying Flight of the whatever the ride's called, not Flight of the Navigator, I want to say. But there's no big sign. There's just some like in-universe statues that sort of point you to where the ride is, and I really like that, and it's something I want to try and do in Meanderville. Although it does mean we're not going to be able to do wacky signs like that, so sorry, we'll do them in here instead. Okay, jump ahead. I'm afraid I did lose a little bit of footage. Nvidia chose today to update drivers and like a new app as well. I use NVIDIA GeForce Now. It used to be called Shadow Play. I don't know. It's had like 15 different names. It's just the sort of inbuilt recorder from my graphics card, and it's fine. It does the job, it really does, but every time there's an update, it'll stop working, and it doesn't really let you know very clearly that it's not working, and you'll just kind of glance and notice, and you'll be like, oh great, I've just lost footage. So I lost about an hour footage here, unfortunately, on this build that is a restaurant, our first sort of proper restaurant, an actual sit-in, not a QSR that we've already got in other places. This is going to be the first place where people can actually go inside and sit down. It's all implied. We don't actually have restaurants in the game like you do have in Planet Zoo. This is just going to be a shell of a building where inside there are going to be a couple of QSRs, and then we do have some seating at the back, so guests could technically grab food and then go and sit in that seating, so it looks a little bit like a patio area for the restaurant. I don't think they do though. I've not seen anyone do it, but they could if they wanted to. I just had a lot of fun building the front of this building, to be honest with you. The idea behind this is that it's maybe even a chain restaurant that has sort of rented the space within the park. Again, this is something that happens quite a lot in theme parks, even higher budget ones, you know. If you think of like Animal Kingdom, they have a oh man, what's it called? Rainforest Cafe on the way in. It's just outside the park, but it's on Disney property, and there's a few others around the place as well. Universal has a few, obviously, as well, especially on City Walk. There's all sort of outsourced ones there. So it's definitely a precedent for that, and I just thought the idea of something here would be pretty good as well. Think of this as kind of like that Rainforest Cafe. That's kind of the vibe I'm going for with this restaurant. Sort of real, huge in the 90s themed restaurant, and a Bubba Gump shrimp, that kind of thing. The tourist trap restaurants, basically, Planet Hollywood, all that kind of thing. So we're building an in-world one of these now then that will sort of sit in this park and be our first sort of proper food place. There'll probably be another couple of these, although water parks do mostly have QSRs, to be honest with you, because most people are just wandering around in their swim costumes, right? So a big air-conditioned room like this isn't really the sort of thing you would have many of. I kind of did this one here because it's still relatively close to the entrance and people could just walk here before they go to their lockers. We might even look at putting some other lockers in nearby so that people could come change into throw shorts and t-shirt on to come inside here. But there probably might be one more sort of sit-down restaurant, but for the most part the food options in the park are going to be QSRs, just because that seems to be usually how it goes in water parks for obvious reasons. You don't want to come and sit in the blistering AC that these places always pump out if you're nearly naked, I suppose. Shame I didn't get the footage there of building the menu sign on the left. I was really pleased with that. I'll show you in a glamour shot in a moment, a bit of a sort of better version of it. But yeah, I was really happy with that. That signage that we didn't use on Ray Bay, I really love it, so I wanted to try and use it here instead. But this time we're really sort of gussing it up with some other stuff, and you'll see it's called Dave's. It's called Stingray Dave's. I don't know. Like I say, I had in my head these sort of destination restaurants, these tourist trap restaurants. There's one here. I don't know if it's North American or if it is specifically Canadian, but they're called Dave and Buster's, and they're kind of like sports bars, but they have like laser tag and that kind of thing in them. I think. I'll be honest with you, I've never been in one, but I always see them driving around the place, and it seems to be like a Chuck E. Cheese with beer. I don't know if that's a good description. Let me know. Do you have a Dave & Buster's near you? Do you love it? But this is Stingray Dave's seafood buffet and shrimp grill. I don't know, a lot of words that sounded right. I'll be honest with you, seafood buffet, you got to be a brave man to go for a seafood buffet, but it really made me chuckle, the idea of a seafood buffet. Just these big tubs of seafood going chewy under the heat lamps. This is the exact sort of thing I've got in my mind. Here we go. Stingray Dave. This looks great, wouldn't it? He's just been. His stomach's already gurgling. But I like the look of the place, and I'm just absolutely adoring this sort of flotsam style to it, and this is meant to be like a chain restaurant, but this is maybe a slightly higher themed one than you'd normally get. Again, I'm thinking of like rainforest cafes, like the Volcano one that's at Disney Springs in Orlando. Just like a chain restaurant, but they've spent a bit of money because they know they're always going to be packed busy with tourists. They have a captive audience all day, every day. Okay, talking of food and drink, you've now had your food, you've had your dodgy ass shrimp that sat under a heat lamp for 2 hours. You need to swill it down with an overpriced margarita, and where better to do that than a swim up bar. This pool has been in place for a little while now. It's just to the side of the wave pool, you'll see it there. But I finally sort of built up the courage, to be honest, to build this because I wasn't too sure how this was going to work out and how I would go about doing it, because I really wanted it to be a proper swim up bar, as in like the bar itself is sunk into the ground there next to it. It's all for show. I did try, I haven't got the footage because it was terrible. I did try and squeeze an actual QSR in there, like one of the I should say QSR is a quick service restaurant. So in a theme park, if you're not going to sit inside a building at a table and chairs, if you're just walking up and grabbing something from a counter, that's what we're referring to when we say QSR, a quick service restaurant, basically a stall, a food stall where you can grab something quick, or maybe you can order the food and then it's provided for you a moment later from another counter. That would be considered a QSR. Anyway, so basically everything in the game currently is a QSR, these little buildings that you just sort of go up to, grab your food and walk away again. We can imply restaurants with picnic tables and what have you, but as far as the game's concerned, everything we have currently is a QSR. And I did try and sync one of the desks up to the thing here just to get a member of staff stood around. It wasn't happening, just the game would just not let, and fair enough as well, there's absolutely no reason for it to happen. So I'm not even annoyed at the game for not letting me put one there, because it's just some things I want the game to play with. Other things I'm like, yeah, no, that's fair enough. I am just trying to break you here. So we don't have it in the end. If we do end up seeing some sort of animatronics DLC, I really feel like we must at some point. I'm hoping we can have some relatively plain ones that we can stand around to generate staff. That would be really awesome. So for the moment, the swim up bar doesn't have any staff, but it's still a lot of fun. Here we've got a backstage area on one side and a customer area on the other, and I really wanted to try and link them up, or at least again that implied link up. Here we have some nice concrete blocks there you can come and swim and sit on. Again, I think that turned out pretty well, and yeah, this was fun. It was a fun build. It's a little tricky because it's a lot of off-grid stuff, and the more we play the game, the more you'll see me use off-grid stuff. It is something that you kind of have to build your courage up. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes willpower, but we get there in the end, and I'm quite happy with what we come up with there. We have actual stairs coming down. Obviously, they're just completely superfluous. They don't do anything, and but then we sort of fake it with these stairs as well. And then we need some interior for the bar as well. Again, this is an implied interior. And but these here, this is awesome. So I saw this from a fantastic build by Mrs. Haribo, who's an amazing Planet Zoo player, who's now bringing her incredible talents over to Planet Coaster 2. And she's made this incredible Western bar. I told you could do Western. I mean, it blows the one I did out of the water the other day. But it's this incredible with an interior and like a custom built piano, like to scale piano. It's insane. But one of the parts of it is this sort of shelving for a bar and what have you, with these liquor bottles, and I asked how to do them. She wasn't around, but somebody, Coppertine, who was around, knew exactly what they were, and pointed me in the right direction. So thank you both to Ms. Haribo for putting the effort in creating these awesome pieces, and then Coppertine for pointing out how it's done. So they are apostrophes or commas, I guess, from one of the fonts, and then the full stops from another one of the fonts, and they're just tiered to make these awesome sort of whiskey liquor, bourbon type looking bottles. I figured this one out myself, but this is another piece that I saw them use, these two little gutter pieces back to back, making shot glasses. I mean, it's all ridiculous, this sort of stuff. It's just piece count that you're never going to look at once you've seen the thumbnail. But I don't know, it's fun to do. I enjoy building this kind of stuff, and I could have sat there for 2 hours going through all the pieces and figuring out what they've used, but sometimes if somebody's already done the work, ask nicely, credit where you can, and off you go. So a nice marble top cabinet here to mix some drinks on, and again, there could be a lot more going in this, to be honest with you. Different coloured bottles, different shaped bottles. other things like that. We might come back and look at this again, but for now, it's an implied interior, and it's something we're not going to go crazy with overall, especially for something like this, which is just a real sort of little build. But I'm kind of happy how this came out using the curved bamboo. We have to kind of cheat the system here to make it thin enough to work as the backdrop. But yeah, overall, I quite like it. Above the bookshelf in here, the bookshelf. Above the that's what I use my bookshelf for, liquor. No, the above the liquor shelves there's a little space where some like posters or artwork might work. You know, like I'm thinking something like a neon palm trees type thing. You know, like real cheesy tiki. Let's really lean into it. This is the sort of place you come in for margaritas and sex on the beaches and tequila sunrises, all that sort of sweet, sugary, colourful crap. But there we go. I think it looks pretty. I'm happy with everything I've done today. We'll do water slides the next one, I promise. I know all the comments in the last one said that you actually quite enjoy these builds, and that's awesome. I do too. I love these sort of implied realism builds. But yeah, I'm ready for some more water slides, so we'll start on those next week. Thank you so much for watching, or next day. I don't know. Every couple of days, I think we're going to get an episode out now. Look at the lighting on that. Ugh, sexy. Thank you so much for watching. Love you all to bits. Till the next one. Be good.